I see no chairs, hands up, so I'm going to jump to Phil as the ranker.
Thank you. I have a couple questions for Gavin, but I want to ask Ann a real quick question, if I may. And obviously, given what the past speaker just said, and obviously representing ACE, do you believe that the projects listed in the queue get us to the 70 by 30 goal?
So thanks for the question, I should say. Gonna start where Zach left off. So you really should be looking at the list of NYSERDA contracted projects, and not at the ISOQ. You want to look at the NYSERDA projects, and as they said, they have enough contracted now to get to 66% of 2030 load. But they also have an order from the commission to do another RFP in 2022, 2023, 24, 25, and 26. So each of those years, the expectation is, well, not more than an expectation, they're directed to procure 4,500 million megawatt hours of new renewable generation. So I think that answered one of the questions that was asked earlier about the 66%. Right. Not all the NYSERDA projects are going to get built. There's going to be some attrition there, but keep in mind that their procurement schedule built that in.
Okay, good. Thank you, Ann. I appreciate your time. Gavin, question for you. Earlier, we had a discussion. One of my colleagues was questioning one of the panelists when there was comments made about is there evidence that exists of projects being built by utilities that have cost overruns and are costly to ratepayers, and the individual really can answer the question. Given your experience and expertise in this industry, are you aware of evidence and claims that you could share with us demonstrating that?
Yeah, thanks, Sullivan, for the question. These aren't my numbers for the members of the assembly that are interested in this. This is in the PSC dockets. There's two major utility ratepayer impacted projects that I think are important for folks to remember. One was the Con Edison East River repowering. That started out in New York City at a $400 million price tag. It ended up costing Con Ed ratepayers $788 million. So nearly 100% cost overrun when the utility built that project. For assembly folks upstate, Rochester Gas and Electric did a repowering a number of years ago. The original budget for it was $75 million. It came in at $125 million and a 60% rate increase for ratepayers in the Rochester area. Those are two specific examples, I think, as Assemblyman Carroll mentioned this morning, about evidence of cost overruns. And I appreciate the opportunity to put out that in the record, and would draw the attention of the Public Service Commission if folks want to follow up with me on that.
Thank you. I know you're a member of the Climate Action Council, and you talked about the power producers, 1.7 billion in property tax revenue. What is going to be, by meeting the CLCPA targets, how will that impact revenues for our local communities?
No, it's huge. The property tax input we've talked about it all day, is just a huge amount of money. We want to continue to pay those and be an economic force in the state. And if you go around and try to close these power plants, and I understand the intent of the goal, and my members support the transition to a clean energy future, we better be prepared to back it up with some other money to support those local communities, because a lot of these power plants are located in areas of the state where there's not a ton of jobs. And they do pay multiple millions of dollars in property taxes. So that is something I think is really important to have on the table as part of this discussion, because it's real. So I hope that's helpful.
Thank you. I do have another question. I've been talking a lot about, it seems like a lot of the focus from a number of my colleagues is on clean and renewable, but not affordability and reliability. I want to talk about reliability a little bit quick, because I know the Climate Action Council identified, I think, 15 to 25 gigawatts of a reliability gap. And NYSERDA talked about that. And do you have concerns, that we're seeing out there about reliability needs to meet the demands on the grid, and then the fact that you have like the DEC shutting down or not improving reliable sources of generation before that technology is in place to be dispatchable, emission-free resources? Shouldn't we make sure that technology is in place first before we just wholeheartedly shut down natural gas power plants and not approve them to make sure that technology is in place first. I know the ISO has talked about that too.
Yeah, I think there's three things that I try to talk about in the Climate Council: reliability, affordability, and clean. That's what this is about. And I think that's what New Yorkers want. They want a reliable system, affordable system, and they want it clean. We have a good environmental record here in New York. We've reduced in the power sector CO2 over 50% in the last 20 years. We've reduced NOx and SOx by 90%. We are carbon free in upstate New York. So we have some good attributes to talk about. We have issues that definitely need to be addressed in New York City. But when it comes right down to it, I believe, like many people here, we will reach 70% by 2030. Where we go from 2030 to 2040, in my judgment, is magic, because the technology is not available. We don't have a dispatchable resource to keep the lights on that's going to replace natural gas. Currently, there's a petition in front of the Public Service Commission, which under the CLCPA law that you adopted requires the Public Service Commission to determine what zero emission technology is going to be needed to keep the lights on in New York. Is it hydrogen? Is it renewable natural gas? What is it? We've teamed up with labor to address some of the labor issues, and they are partners in getting that petition to move forward. We cannot stop using natural gas until we have an abundance amount of a dispatchable fuel that complies with the CLCPA. So reliability is something that is paramount, affordability is paramount, and making it clean is paramount in our discussions.